Hold on. Okay, welcome everybody to our Perk meeting. Today is March 12th. Spring is in the air, and let's celebrate by Al ringing the bell.
Hey, everybody, stay safe.
All right. Today's we're being sponsored by Colts Neck Insurance, and our speaker today is Kathrine Dwyer, who works for Colts Neck Insurance, and she's going to be giving us some tips. So, Kathrine, take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well on this beautiful Friday morning. This morning, I would like to discuss how to save and be protected. I have 4 main talking points, and then I'm happy to talk about questions or concerns at the end. So my first point is, hi, good morning. My name is Kathrine, and I work for Colts Neck Insurance. Here at the office, we are very adamant about customer service. There's about 6 full-time producers who work in office. So if you need one of us, it's really not that hard to reach one of us. Most of the days I'm the only girl, so if you so happen to forget my name, you can just say, oh, that lady on the phone, and you'll be able to get me pretty much fairly quickly after that phone call. Within the office, we have a 92% retention rate, which I think is really important to emphasize. The office is quite proud of that. The agency owner has been here for over 20 years and has been in the industry for over about 30. And we're also ranked number 13 in the state, which I think is pretty cool to give a little shout out to. Within office, we have a lot of different companies that we use for different, risks. Let's just say you're too close to the water, or your house has the replacement cost of over $2 million. Certain criterias don't necessarily fit in certain companies, so that's why we have the ability to, flip-flop and shop around for you to make sure you guys end up with a good price and end up with the proper coverage for those horrible situations that you don't necessarily want to think about, that unfortunately could happen at any point. The next thing I'd like to discuss is COVID-19 and Allstate. So within the, unfortunately year of COVID, Allstate has issued 4 refunds for their insureds. This would include April, May, June, and then January. So as a company, they still understand that COVID is still, here. And unfortunately, some insureds, don't have the ability to pay for their insurance. There, has been different outlets for insureds to, make those payments or, potentially change their coverages slightly in order to make those payments more affordable at this time. But they're also been promoting what we call a mile-wise policy. So this is an automobile policy that is, a little bit more reasonable for insureds who are not necessarily driving. So the mile-wise policy has a daily rate as well as a per mile rate. So let's just say, you have the car sitting in the driveway for about 5 days, and then, Saturday, you go to the grocery store, you go to the farmer's market, you go to your grandmother's house, and then you come home. It's a very minimal, policy. Usually the daily rate is about $1 to $1.50 per day. And then the per mileage rate is about 10 cents to 20 cents per mile, dependent on the cars and, how much is the estimated mileage that you're in fact driving. We usually promote this policy for senior citizens who don't necessarily drive as often, young kids who live in Hoboken who barely use their car, or during this time frame when people are working from home and they're not really going anywhere. So why pay for something that you don't necessarily need, but you still in fact need coverage through and through, so you don't have a lapse. So this is a good transition for you to save some money during this difficult time. My next point is, are you cleared to close? So we work really closely with a lot of mortgage reps, loan officers, even new prospective home buyers to walk them through the process of how does this work versus what does my coverage entail? And, are they good to be cleared to close at that closing table? Because, that last hour, as I'm sure many of you know, is a very difficult hour for a lot of insureds, as well as pressure for the attorneys and real estate people, et cetera, et cetera. So we work closely again with all of those people to make one big happy family to make sure you are in fact cleared to close. So we work closely if you need a particular premium to be closed, whether or not you need certain coverage to match your loan to make sure that, for those, again, horrible situations that you don't want to think about, that you are properly covered. And especially for new time home buyers, for insureds who are going from renting to now owning, we want to make sure that the coverages are explained to them, because the coverages compared side by side for a renter's policy versus a homeowner's policy isn't necessarily the same. A renter's policy is usually very minimal coverages because you don't necessarily have that much stuff or personal belongings, or are too concerned about the liability coverage in your apartment that you don't necessarily own, versus a big house that you're moving into with your whole family and potentially the dog as well. So those are things that we walk down side by side. And then, at the end of the day, we also try to, get the best premium for the insureds. I would never make someone, pay more than they have to, but I want to emphasize, the proper protection for something, especially when it comes to a homeowner's policy or the auto policy. So we always try our best to, bundle and save to make sure that the insureds, have the ability to save as much as possible. And then we also may discuss, potentially raising your deductibles to offset the costs. Because, if you are a good driver or you're not too concerned about potentially putting in a homeowner's claim, raising a deductible, $500 at the end of the day could save you a lot of money in the long run, which is really important. And then my last point that I wanted to discuss today is referrals. So obviously, as a chamber, we all appreciate referrals, but there's two different types of referrals for us as an office and me personally that we really appreciate. So for those of you who have Allstate and don't necessarily have to be with our office, Allstate always offers $75 off their next renewal for insureds who refer a friend. So let's just say you referred your neighbor next door and the producer of that office was able to write your friend, you would receive $75 off your next renewal, which I think is really great. $75 is, technically a dinner out, I guess, nowadays on DoorDash or something like that for the whole family. So, that's more money in your pocket at the end of the day. And then as an office, we also offer, what we call professional rewards. So if you, as professionals were referred to me yourselves or your family members or things like that, we also offer a gift card of sorts for you guys, because we really appreciate, the incoming business. Lastly, if you were to refer a friend of any kind, or, just want me to review your policies, as, Bonnie and Gilda and Mike and a bunch of other of us like to review your coverages to make sure you, are able to save and properly be protected, you would be in good hands with me for me to help you save more money and make sure that your protection is up to par. So I wanted to thank everyone for, joining me very early this morning, and thanks to the office for sponsoring this conversation.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Kathrine? Duane?
Yeah, Kathrine, first of all, good presentation, informative. Question I have on the per diem insurance policies you were talking about.
Sure.
Is that something that you could go on to it now and then easily switch back to a standard policy as the need occurs, or
Correct.
are you locked in for like 6 months or something?
Nope, you can change back at any time. Obviously, the rates may necessarily not be the same, given that the daily rate is fairly, more reasonable price-wise than a normal rate, but you can change back at any time. A lot of insureds have been giving it at least 6 months just to see if it's truly beneficial for them price-wise, or they're monitoring like their mileage speedometer on the car to determine whether or not this is a good idea. So they take like their last oil change versus, what the car mileage is at the moment, and kind of calculating like, am I truly going, less of a mileage than I was, at this point last year, or, am I going even less than that? And this is going to be a great policy for us.
Yeah, no, I asked, my wife normally travels anywhere roughly 20,000 miles a year she puts on her car, and we calculated out, and last year she did just over 3,500 miles.
Oh, wow.
Because she's now works from home.
Yeah, usually the gear is definitely 5,000 miles or less for things to be beneficial for that regard. But yeah, you can transfer back to a standard policy at any time.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Excellent. I see Kerri has her hand up.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Kathrine. Thank you for the information. I happen to know a lot of this because I am an Allstate customer.
You're in good hands.
Yeah, right. We belong to a couple others, but we shop around as everybody should, because I save a lot of money with Allstate, and it just really comments. My representative, she literally reaches out to make sure we have DriveWise on and asks, you know, you need to log in or something like that.
Yep.
She wants us to get everything. I don't know if you mentioned, I'm sorry, the rewards. There's Allstate rewards.
Yes. So when you are an Allstate customer and you refer your friend or neighbor, if that producer were to write the policy in Allstate, then you get $75 off your next auto policy renewal.
No, I was actually talking about the rewards, the points.
Oh, so that's like Allstate rewards for DriveWise and stuff. Once you maintain like a certain point allocation, you do have the ability to shop like in the Allstate store for gift cards and, you know, little pocketbooks. I've never actually used my points. I probably should dig deeper into that, but it's quite fun. You get a free gift card for doing nothing.
I'm saving up. And also very easy. I sold a car because I got a new one, so I had to take it off the policy. So I didn't have time at work. The person kept answering. I'm hanging up because I had to hang up the phone. Long story short, I'm on the phone at 8:30 last night. It says you can do a lot online. So I go on the website. I took my car off by just making a click. Remove car, sold, and it's done. So anyway, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, anybody else? We have Gerald.
Kathrine, great presentation.
Thank you.
Question: when they install that device in your car for the Safe Driver program, it doesn't monitor your speed, how fast you're driving, does it?
So that's two separate entities in Allstate. So one is called DriveWise, where it monitors your speeding, your hard braking, and your late night drives. DriveWise always maintains a discount on your policy, whether you drive like a crazy person or you drive, you know, pretty well. It's always about 3 to 5% on the policy, as long as the app is kept on your phone. If you were to drive, you know, better than worse according to those 3 standards, you do have the ability to get cash back because you've maintained a good driver. And then mile-wise, they plug a device in your car where you get like the inspection done, like at the inspection center. So it's like a pretty small, like blue device that you're able to plug in. I've had a 98-year-old be able to do this all by themselves. So it's supposedly a very easy process. And that just simply monitors your mileage, whether or not you go for drives in the car.
Someone who drives at a rapid pace, like Al, is not a good program for him, right? I've driven with him quite a bit. His foot is always on the accelerator.
DriveWise might not be the best option for Al, but MileWise maybe if he's driving at least, you know, less than 5,000 miles for the year.
Just a minute. I can with Gerald. Accelerator Al.
Catherine,
Yes.
I'll
how
get
does
it later.
the app know whether you're driving or you're the passenger in somebody else's car?
So you do, the app is not that smart. You do have the ability to remove drives if you don't necessarily agree with how the drive was read. So in essence, if you were speeding like Al, you do have the ability to delete a trip so it doesn't necessarily penalize you. Yep.
I did not know that.
Uh-oh.
I'll get you guys later.
Everyone's revealing their secrets today.
I'll get you guys later.
So Gerald, to answer your question, you have to stay under 80 on the Parkway.
Yeah,
Once you hit
uh,
80, it is recognizing. And yes, I am apparently a hard breaker. Yeah. So yeah, I don't spend much
I'm a
money
hard
and I'm not
breaker at
getting
like
those
8
points that Carrie's getting.
You tell him, Tara.
Since you're talking about car and points, I'm just going to throw this out there. Tiffany Artis, the owner of Howell and Jean Driving School, next month we're putting together a class she's going to teach. We haven't picked the date yet. It's going to be in the morning from 8 to 10, and it's going to be available. It's a driving class, and if for an extra $25 in the class, you can take off 2 or 3 points off your license. So stay tuned. So apparently, you know, those people that were talking about speed.
But to add to that, if you submit a defensive driving course for your insurance, usually it saves about $20 to $25. With Allstate, the discount remains for 3 years. So if you took the course today before your renewal, let's just say your renewal was St. Patrick's Day, then it would last for 6 renewals.
Nice.
Wow. Without any points.
No, so like I took the course just because I wanted to save a little, extra $20 on my insurance. I don't have any points, knock on wood. But they still send it to the DMV reflecting if you did have points. But yes, you have if you submit it to your insurance, then you have the ability to, save.
Oh, that's really good.
Yep. I think Matali has a question.
Not a question. It's an experience that I want to share.
Sure.
When we first moved into Allstate, which is when my oldest turned the year around where he's got his own driving license, and since then it was a anxiety situation for me, and followed him was my daughter 2 years later. So I was advised, take DriveWise, you will not regret it. Believe me, that was the best way to track my kids. My kids never knew where they were driving, how fast, and how many times they hit hard brakes. When it came to question answer session, I said, you had 4 hard brakes in the last 3 days. You were definitely driving over the speed limit where you were, and you had to have an emergency stop. So that was the only way I could modulate their driving skills. So parents who are having, teenage kids who are going to who are moving into that phase where you have to be on your parents' insurance, that's a good way to, moderate their driving skills. So I think I wanted to throw that in because I used it to the maximum potential.
Excellent. Any other questions for Kathrine? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Kathrine. Obviously, this was very informational and helpful to everybody, especially based on the questions that were asked. So yes, let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, and Kathrine is my go-to girl for taking care of my insurance. She's amazing.
Awesome. I love to hear that. I love when we work with each other and we help each other and give referrals and testimonials. All right, so we will be moving on to the next part of the meeting.